Dr. Christopher Fluke Kelso, a British historian specializing in Soviet studies, arrives in Moscow to attend an academic conference focused on Joseph Stalin and his legacy. Known for his outspoken criticism of Stalin's brutality, Kelso delivers a lecture arguing that Stalin's rule was built on fear, mass murder, and state censorship. His comments anger several local supporters of the old Soviet order who view Stalin as a strong leader who brought stability and power to Russia. As Kelso leaves the hall, he becomes aware that his words may have attracted more attention than he expected, especially in a country where many still fiercely debate Stalin's place in history. Back at his hotel, Kelso encounters an old man named Papu Rapava waiting for him in the lobby. Nervous and shaking, Rapava insists he has something important to reveal. Kelso reluctantly agrees to hear him out, and the old man recounts a story that sounds unbelievable at first. He claims that on the night Stalin died in 1953, he, as a young NKVD soldier, witnessed a secret event in the dictator's private rooms. Rapava says he saw Lavrenti Beria, Stalin's powerful and feared security chief, take a key from Stalin's dying body, unlock a hidden safe, and remove a red leather folder containing Stalin's most private documents. According to Rapava, Beria kept the folder for himself, but after Beria's execution later that year, Rapava secretly retrieved the folder and hid it in the garden of Beria's abandoned dacha. Rapava now believes the time has come for the truth to be revealed. Kelso is skeptical, but the possibility of discovering a primary document written by Stalin himself is too extraordinary to dismiss. Before they can discuss further, Rapava leaves abruptly, promising to meet Kelso the next day. Kelso attempts to verify Rapava's story. He visits the library in search of Beria's old residence and meets a librarian who helps him find archival references. Her clues lead Kelso to the neglected and eerie remains of Beria's mansion outside the city. When Kelso arrives, he is shocked to find the garden already dug up as if someone has beaten him to the discovery. Unknown to him, the FSB has been monitoring his research, and an officer named Major Suvorin begins to follow him discreetly, trying to determine how much Kelso knows. Later that evening, Kelso visits a nightclub after finding its matchbook among Rapava's belongings. There he meets Zinaida, Rapava's estranged daughter, who works as a dancer and escort to make ends meet. When Kelso mentions her father's story, Zinaida is cold and distant at first, believing her father was delusional and dangerous. Still, she agrees to take Kelso to Rapava's apartment. They arrive to find the door ajar and the old man dead in his bathtub, clearly murdered. Before Kelso can call for help, he is mugged, thrown into a police car, and interrogated over the incident. Suvorin intervenes, securing his release and warning him that he is meddling in matters far larger than an academic curiosity. Meanwhile, an ambitious American journalist, R.J. O'Brien, learns of Kelso's involvement in a potentially explosive political story. He begins trailing Kelso, hoping to capture a major international scoop about Stalin's hidden past. When Zinaida retrieves the key to her father's garage, Kelso and O'Brien follow her there. Inside they find a locked toolbox, and after forcing it open, they discover the legendary red folder. Inside the folder is not Stalin's personal diary as Rapava implied but instead the handwritten journal of a woman named Anna, a nurse from Archangel who spent time caring for Stalin during his final years. The diary details Stalin's declining health, his private rages, and intimate aspects of his personality. Even more significant, the diary reveals that Anna became pregnant, strongly implying that Stalin fathered a secret child with her. Several pages concerning the baby have been torn out, suggesting that someone tried to hide the identity or fate of this child. Driven by a mix of professional excitement and personal moral duty, Kelso decides to travel to Archangel, the remote northern city mentioned in the journal, hoping to uncover the truth about Stalin's possible heir. Zinaida, sensing the gravity of the discovery and fearing more danger, reluctantly joins Kelso and O'Brien. The trio leaves Moscow, unaware that Mamontov, leader of a radical neo-Stalinist political movement called Aurora, is watching their every move. Mamontov believes that proving Stalin left behind a direct descendant could become a powerful tool to restore authoritarian rule in Russia, feeding nationalist nostalgia and consolidating political control. Upon arriving in Archangel, Kelso and Zinaida search the local communist archives, eventually locating Anna's elderly mother. Frail but mentally sharp, She confirms that her daughter returned from Moscow heavily pregnant and died shortly after giving birth. The baby, a boy, was adopted by a couple living in the deep northern forest. The mother warns Kelso that others have searched for the child over the years, some of them never returning. As Kelso and O'Brien prepare to find the adopted son, Zinaida is suddenly arrested and accused of killing 2 policemen, a false charge clearly meant to stop her from continuing the search. Major Suvorin, torn between duty and conscience, intervenes again, securing her release. Kelso and O'Brien set out into the remote forest, eventually locating a small, isolated cabin. There they meet a brooding, intense man named Josef, the adopted child of Anna. He is now in his 30s, emotionally unstable, and deeply resentful about the life he believes was stolen from him. The cabin is filled with Soviet memorabilia, including clothing, photographs, and personal items once belonging to Stalin. Josef's adoptive father had told him stories about his origins before dying, and Josef has spent years agonizing over the burden of being Stalin's blood. His behavior swings between childlike vulnerability and sudden eruptions of anger, suggesting that he has inherited not only Stalin's features but some of his volatile temperament. During this confrontation, special forces led by the ruthless Major Kretov arrive at the cabin. Their mission is simple: eliminate everyone involved and destroy any evidence of Stalin's lineage. A fierce battle erupts. O'Brien attempts to broadcast the revelation live but is shot and killed. Suvorin, who has come to help Kelso one final time, is also killed in the chaos. Josef, furious and unhinged, kills several soldiers with brutal efficiency, demonstrating a disturbing capacity for violence. Kelso barely escapes, sprinting toward the river and fleeing by boat. Left alone, Josef shaves his beard, dresses in Stalin's old military uniform, and attempts to commandeer a helicopter. For a brief moment, he seems to imagine himself stepping into the role of the dictator he never knew, fully embracing the monstrous legacy others have projected onto him. Back in Moscow, Mamontov reveals his true intentions to Kelso. He confesses that Kelso's invitation to Russia was orchestrated, that Rapava was manipulated into revealing the notebook, and that every step Kelso took was monitored by Aurora. Mamontov needed an academic with Western credibility to confirm Josef's identity publicly. With O'Brien's broadcast partially transmitted before his death, Mamontov believes he can now introduce Josef to the world as Stalin's legitimate heir and launch a political revolution. Kelso, horrified that he has been used as a pawn, attempts to expose Mamontov by speaking to a reporter during their train journey. But Mamontov's men attack him, beating him near unconsciousness. Josef, still alive and searching for Zinaida, boards the same train, his unstable mind filled with fantasies of reclaiming Stalin's power. When Josef confronts Zinaida, he becomes aggressive, torn between attraction, rage, and a twisted desire for validation. As he lunges toward her, Zinaida draws her father's Makarov pistol and shoots him, ending his life and the possibility of a new Stalinist resurgence. Kelso and Zinaida escape as the authorities scramble to contain the story and cover the events. Josef's death effectively ends Mamontov's political dream. The Russian government buries the incident, allowing only rumors and conflicting narratives to circulate. Kelso, battered and shaken, reflects on the futility of chasing historical truth in a land where truth is constantly rewritten, manipulated, and weaponized. Zinaida, grieving but resolute, prepares to rebuild her life free from her father's shadows. The story closes with the sense that although they stopped a dangerous political movement, the greater battle over history and truth continues. Stalin's legacy remains a wound in the Russian psyche, one that people like Mamontov try to exploit, and scholars like Kelso struggle to expose. Kelso returns home changed, carrying the heavy realization that history is not merely studied, it is fought over, feared, rewritten, and lived.